Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, things aren't going to mellow out in 2026, are they?
I guess they aren't. That's the first thing. The first sound that was made in our pre-show meeting. He said, well, I guess they're not going to be moderating at all in 2026. But it is, something that you and I have looked at over the last several years, because it used to be that parties would try and, okay, let's try and center ourselves. Let's, try to come to the center. Well, when you say that about the Democrats these days, it is laughable. There's a reason you're laughing, because it is laughable. How do you come to the center? This is why we always say, and now I can't wait for the summer of 28 at their convention, what the platform is going to be. What in the world are they going to talk about? What are they going to be promoting by then? We talked about it now. 2024 was a bit different. We were looking forward to that platform up until then, but it happened to be the whole, switcheroo thing that they did with Kamala Switcheroo Harris. And they used the word joy. Remember, that lasted about 24 hours?
Yes, they were the campaign of joy.
The campaign of joy. Tim Walz jumping out there like, with his jazz hands, and he was just jumping up on stage, looking ridiculous. But the word joy was just as ridiculous. And now you look at where they are, everything is the norm. What we saw, another attack on ICE. What we have seen, and it's not the first. This has become the new norm for the left. And the radicals who embrace that are in office. They are now the mayor of New York City. They are possible 2028 candidates, AOC. They are the loudest part and the leadership now, the de facto leadership of the Democratic Party. They're the ones that have the microphones, and they have taken over, and there's no sign of them slowing.
I've really come to the conclusion, for example, just one point, it's almost if we've talked about critical thinking skills. Mm-hmm. We've talked about being able to connect the dots. Mm-hmm. Democrats yesterday they try to make the case that the woman's car, the woman's SUV, just happened to be there.
Right.
They start at that point and don't go before that.
Right.
Well, if you're going to look at any situation, you have to look at it in its entirety. And they don't wish to do that.
Right.
And I've come to a conclusion that there's only a couple of reasons why. Either they don't have the mental capability for doing it, and I'm being serious here. They don't have the mental capability, whether it's because of brainwashing or they just don't have the mental capability to analyze any situation, or they actually want the destruction of their own communities.
I actually think it's a combination of both.
Okay, I should have said then, and/or a combination of both.
Because we've often done the horrible leftist math that they do quite often. Keynesian economics is one great example, right? But they leave out the biggest part of the equation, right? Like you said, and I think it was a great way to put it. Like the woman just happened to she was just in the neighborhood and just got in her car and was just driving away.
Just happened to be there, just looking to see what was going on and making sure that they weren't doing anything wrong. We know that's a load of horse manure.
It's garbage.
Everyone knows it's a load of horse manure.
It is absolute garbage.
Right.
But because I think there is, a great lack of critical thinking skills with these individuals, these radicals, who are trying to make those points. But also, they also believe, as we have said for years, that people are stupid, that people won't do the math, that they can start a narrative and get away with it. I heard over the weekend that Nicolas Maduro is just a Maryland man.
No, New York.
Yeah, well, they want to send him back to Maryland, where he belongs. You think about how.
Oh, I know what you're referring to.
Right.
I was just, adding a little color to it.
He's just now. Look, he was just visiting New York. How did he end up in prison? Right. But the whole thing.
But we say that as if it's a ridiculous thing.
But that's how ridiculous they become.
But that's how insane it is.
Yes.
It's impossible to have a discussion. It's impossible to have a debate.
Right.
Because there is no connecting of the dots or any type of critical thinking, whatsoever. I forget, was it Walsh who said that the federal government is at war with us, or we're at war with the federal government?
Yeah.
Over what?
Right. Yeah.
What is the when and you have to understand the base of it in order to know that they're full of manure.
Yes.
And
right.
it's simply, here's the base of it, whether you like it or not.
Right.
I think Scott Jennings said this. I don't like the taxes I have to pay. I think that all Americans are taxed too much. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm taxed too much. I believe that so much of our money is wasted and that the federal government is involved in things that they shouldn't be involved with. And I believe that the practice of the federal government to pay for what we want now and put it on the backs of future generations is one of the biggest immoral and evil things that we do. I don't obstruct IRS agents. I don't follow IRS agents. I don't attempt to intimidate IRS agents. I know that the only recourse that I have in a free society, and remember, this is the taking of my property.
Right.
If we want to raise it to the level of, oh, well, gosh, they're taking my property. Right. Well, you ought to be really ticked off about it, and therefore, isn't violence justified? No, it's not.
No.
Because it goes through the system of our elected representatives. It's a system that we have. You and I have been doing this for, almost together, almost 8 decades.
Yes.
We've said it over and over again. We understand the system, and we understand the system doesn't change overnight. Well, we understand that it was said the Constitution was set where it doesn't change overnight. But there's a lot of things that we're ticked off about. We don't intimidate or obstruct justice. We don't do it. We don't. Whether it's with our automobiles or whether it's with our firearms.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We don't use them in any manner that threatens anybody, anytime, ever.
Right.
Unless it's completely and totally self-defense.
Right.
End of story.
Right.
Now, those are some of the things to us that are non-negotiable. They're negotiable to the Democrats. Well, it's okay if I do this. Well, they should know I'm not using. It's almost as if you might as well, pull a gun at an officer. Well, but the gun wasn't all the way up. The gun was only out of the holster. The gun was still pointing down at the law enforcement officer. Mm-hmm. You and I talked about the fact of, remember during the riots, was in Missouri?
Mm.
Who was complaining that it's not fair that the police have more weapons, and this was really interesting from the Democrats who want complete and total gun control and nobody to have guns. I remember that narrative that it's not fair.
Right.
The people out there protesting and burning down the cities don't have the same weaponry as the police officers coming in.
Well, Jake Tapper, when he was there live, saying the police are here and they're armed.
I know, remember that? That's just, I mean, it's...
How does he still have a job?
You know something? It's not funny, but it's so absurd.
Right.
It's so absurd. You have adults with the mindset and the brain capacity of emotional children who aren't getting their spoiled brat children who aren't getting their way. And it's day in and day out and day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, year in and year out that we've been dealing with this.
Right.
And it's like,
right.
There is no solution. There is no, well, we need to come to we need to find the middle. There is no middle. They're nuts.
Yes, they are. It's the way they've justified violence in recent years.
Yeah.
More and more. When a healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, is gunned down on the street, AOC says, well, you have to understand when people get their claims denied, they see that as an act of violence.
Right. And we understand because we took the time to understand how the damn system works that if you have a contract with somebody and they don't fulfill it, well, then you have a civil case that you can go and you can get reparations. And it's easy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to do that because you can read the contract and say, here's where I've got them.
Yep.
But if it's not in the contract, and this is the entire point, well, it doesn't matter what's in the contract. They have a responsibility to do it. And if they don't, then shoot them dead.
Right.
What's wrong with you, Eric?
Well,
what's wrong with you, Gary?
but
why don't you understand that?
This is where they, years ago, changed it to silence is violence. Anything is violence. We can just say the word violence so we can justify our own violence.
Yeah. You know, from the radical transgender movement on, you're dealing with emotional, spoiled brat children is what you're dealing with.
Yes. And they're radical and highly unpredictable.
By the way, who are adults and can be violent, and they justify their own criminal acts as virtue signaling as the ultimate morality.
Right. Right.
The federal government's at war with Minnesota. What an ass.
You know, this is...
what a complete ass.
Well, and here's another thing I thought of, too. The Democrats are desperate to get the entire fraud situation in Minnesota behind them. And I think some of them jumped on this thinking, if we can get this going, if we can just stoke this fire, maybe, just maybe. Now that Tim Walz is not going to run again, just maybe we can put that behind us.
Here's a little secret. They're not.
Not going to work.
It's not going to work.
No, it's not going to work. And here's the other thing,
By the
too.
way, that's not a secret.
Had they... Yeah, right. It's not. I just heard it on the radio. Here's the whole thing, too. Had this woman run over the ICE agent and he had died, there would be some hailing her as a hero on the left.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And how, when you decide to weaponize your vehicle against law enforcement, I don't understand that at all.
Well, think about, I mean, I made the case about the IRS. I can't imagine getting involved in anything that would possibly put anybody at harm. Myself,
right.
The law enforcement officer. By the way, nobody talks about the actual law enforcement officer and his background,
right?
Or her. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it looked like it was his.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute.
We don't know the
exact. I mean, we have to throw the insanity. No matter what we do, we have to throw the insanity in it.
Yeah.
Oh, have they identified what their gender is yet, Gary? Being you're a bigot for shut up.
Yeah. Every rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's like we can talk about anything, and it's like rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
Yes,
but nobody talks about the officer and their sacrifice, and they're saying, okay, I'm going to do a job that's really, really hard,
Right.
that I'm going to enforce federal law.
And at this point, right now, with the current environment, on the streets, right there, literally on the streets, trying to enforce the law, knowing your entire agency, every single agent that is out there doing their job is a target, and they know that, and they still do the job.
Well, here's what's going on with the Democrats. I believe the Democrats are happy this happened.
Oh, I think so.
I believe they're thrilled that this happened because the entire point was, this is the Democratic politicians. Let's really rev up these people. Let's get to their emotion. Let's tell them that, this is the Gestapo. This is Nazism. This is illegal. This is everything else. And let's get some sucker out there to get killed. And then the public will move against it because they're like, well, we thought this would be something that, we don't want illegal immigrants here in the country, but we're not willing for people to die because of it. That's their strategy.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right.
The strategy, but to sit there and say that somehow by using all the language that they do to imply that somehow ICE is doing something illegal when all they're doing is enforcing the laws of the United States that were put into law by the elected representatives of the people of the United States. End of story. And if you don't like it, well, then run for political office.
Or move to another country.
But exactly. Do so, but to sit there and believe that you can obstruct justice. Think about it. Think how warped you have to be. I was thinking about that. I'm driving in going, I can't imagine something going on and me driving into a middle of law enforcement officers where they don't know where my intention is. For God's sakes, I rarely ever do, but if I get pulled over, when I do, both hands are 10 and 2. I've got my license already. The windows are down. All the lights are on in the car. Why? Because I respect the job that they do and I respect the people that do it, and I don't want to die.
Yeah.
I don't want to have any misunderstanding when I'm in my car.
I'm looking for everybody to go home, including me and the officer. It's that simple.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. The driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Well, we've got tons of audio coming up following the bottom of the hour, but. What precisely happened? That will be all settled out in the investigation of the shooting.
Yep.
What precisely happened at that point?
Right.
But to sit there and make it sound like this is just somebody who was just living a normal life.
Right.
That's a load of baloney.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. All right, let's show some audio in here from the whole situation in Minnesota yesterday in Minneapolis. First, start off with Jonathan Turley. Excuse me. I slurred there. I swear. I haven't been drinking.
No, not yet.
We'll wait till the top of the hour.
That's right.
I have a couple of cocktails at the top of the hour.
Why
Here's
not?
Jonathan Turley.
What you have here is a vehicle that is legally treated as a weapon. And these officers are trained, both federal and state, to treat a car as a weapon if it is speeding towards them. You have an individual who did not comply with orders to get out of the car and, in fact, sped up towards the agent. So for all of that, we have to look at the remaining evidence. There's still video I'd like to see. An investigation has to be completed. But as it stands now, this is a stronger and stronger case supporting the officer. What really concerns me is the hair trigger that we saw politically, that you really saw, I thought, reprehensible conduct by the mayor and the governor. You know, these officers put their lives on the line. The least you can do is allow the investigation to go forward. Instead, we saw even the mayor of New York declaring this officer to be a murderer. And it's really a shocking thing I think, for those of us who believe that officers should be given some due process. I thought that was the mantra coming from many of these individuals.
Look, it's not shocking to me. Is anything shocking to you?
No, nothing is shocking.
Nothing has shocked me at all.
But I liked it that Turley makes the point. As a legal expert, that's what he does. But he makes the point because it's what you said earlier. We'll learn what happened with the investigation. Now, there's I don't know how many different angles, a few different angles of video that are out there, and we can all armchair this whole thing. But we're not doing the investigation. And allowing due process is really the first and foremost. You can't, if you're on the left, though, due process means nothing to you. It means nothing to you. Because they don't care if it's somebody on their side who assassinates somebody. They're deemed a hero. And then they're protesting outside of the courthouse for them to be released, Luigi. And due process means nothing. So, with all due respect to our friend, Jonathan Turley, he makes a solid point. But the radicals don't care about your solid points. They don't have the mental capacity to understand your solid point. And if they did or do, if any of them do, they want to do away with that due process.
Right.
This is the entire idea.
And understand, this isn't just about ICE.
No.
We've been through this 4.5 years ago. We went with 4.5? No, 5. 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. We went through this already. All police departments are systemically racist to hunt down and kill blacks.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a complete lie. Yet they promoted that, and that thing went on, what, for a year?
Yeah.
All the massive protests that happened during the summer of 2020. Remember, you couldn't go anywhere, but if you wanted to protest all police, that was fine. Remember, defund the police.
Yeah.
This isn't just, well, ICE is different because no, you were going after the police. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about law enforcement whose job is to enforce immigration law and protect the American people, or regular law enforcement in cities, your local cops, whose job is to protect society. They didn't care. No. They wanted them all gone. Remember the idiocy. And they all had to back off on it. Okay, we have to hire more police, and we're having problems now hiring police. We wonder why. Well, why are we having problems hiring police now?
Why is crime on the rise?
This whole thing, apparently, okay, yeah, all right, now that we thought about it, probably sending social workers out for 911 calls for, domestic violence might not be the best way to go. You probably should have somebody who is armed and a law enforcement professional to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about complete and total idiocy. So they can't even look because they have a history now. They can't sit there and just go, well, this is just about ICE. No, it's not.
And then when the results of their actions, ended up, because of their actions, crime ended up increasing, they had to go in and change those results. They had to lie about crime increasing.
Exactly.
Because they knew it immediately goes back to, well, the fact that you defunded the police, the fact that you called for defunding the police, even if you didn't in that local area actually defund the police, what you did is sent out the message that we don't like the police. Therefore, any recruiting efforts for those local police departments was just failing more and more. And we're seeing that in all the major cities. They're hurting for people who will serve as police officers. And we wonder why. Because we turn the police officers into bad guys. And we're doing the same with ICE right now. I say we, but as a society, that's the mindset that's being sent there. And yet you still have people that are willing to serve as local police officers and on the federal level as ICE agents. And I'm grateful for that. And that's gets us back to what happened yesterday. You've got people out, you've got ICE agents who understand at all times that they are a target.
Yeah. You don't think that what happened just a few miles from me isn't in the back of every ICE officer's mind?
The Alvarado, Texas thing is the one you're referring to?
Yeah.
Is the...
then the other one that happened in Dallas.
In Dallas,
yeah.
And then in South Texas, the Alvarado shooting, there's still a massive story there that has not been told. And the one key to that is what authorities said. These individuals didn't know each other. And the point of that, the reason I bring that up is because we have to understand the dangerous mindset that is shared out there. We talk about, conspiracy this, conspiracy that, and at some level, it does become a conspiracy when a group gets together and decides they're going to organize. But how do they organize and attract people to that group? It's a shared mindset, which is extremely dangerous.
Andrew McCarthy talking about the legalities here. He goes, the battle lines are being drawn, from National Review, battle lines are being drawn on what seems to be a flawed legal assumption. If the woman who was allegedly blocking ICE agents with her car was merely trying to flee rather than to run the agent over, she should be understood as a murder victim rather than a criminal engaged in a dangerous act that justifies the use of lethal force by law enforcement. It's really not an either-or situation. Undoubtedly, if it is reasonable to construe that the woman's action as a deliberate attempt to mow down an ICE agent with a speeding vehicle, the use of force was justified. But even if the woman was mainly trying to get away, she was engaged in an actionable assault on a federal officer, a felony under the federal penal code. One of my first cases as a young prosecutor was an assault on a federal officer, a probation officer. The defendant was convicted, even though he never actually struck the officer. He just clenched his fists and assumed an offensive stance, suggesting an imminent swing. That was sufficient beyond a reasonable doubt because the statute targets anyone who forcibly assaults, resists, impedes, intimidates, or interferes with a federal officer. To constitute assault, there need not be battery, and here the statutory language reaches conduct less serious than assault. If the agent is put in reasonable fear of imminent harm, that's enough.
And there's
As-
plenty
as we
of
know. Yes.
plenty of video to show
Yes.
that was the case. That you can make that case.
Yeah. In fact, in this instance, unlike in my case all those years ago, if the assault or intimidation is carried out with a deadly or dangerous weapon, that's the car.
Yeah.
The penalty is up to 20 years imprisonment. That's a weighty felony offense. And remember, you had, I'm sure when these laws were passed, you think Democrats way back when they were passed said, no, we shouldn't have this? Or was all of society in agreement, if you go after a federal officer, a law enforcement officer, there are strict punishments for doing that if you're convicted.
Right. Well, I mean, look, the 3 words, strong on crime, both sides vied to show that they were basically stronger on crime than their opponent in any given political race back in the day. That's not the case with the left anymore.
He said, even if you believe that the woman was just trying to get away, she did so by swiping the car in the agent's direction.
Right.
She may not have intended to run him over, but she sure didn't appear to be trying to avoid running him over if that was necessary to escape.
And the question is, did that officer have the right to do what he
Yes.
did?
Either way, the agent's life was jeopardized, and the responsive use of force would be reasonable.
Right.
And this is the legalities that he's talking about
Right.
here in that.
Because there's no
in that
way
case.
that officer to stop that car.
Right. So he's making the point. Doesn't matter the argument Democrats are making. She was just trying to get away, and who can read the mind?
Right.
And so he says both ways, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But it's just, the one thing that well, I'm telling you one thing, Waltz is definitely the what is it again? The permission, what is it?
Permission structure.
He is the permission structure to tell people you don't have to pay attention to federal law.
Right.
You can break the law
Yeah.
if you wish.
Right.
In Minnesota. That's
Right.
okay.
Right.
Break the law. We want you to break the law.
Right.
We encourage you to break the law.
Right.
We'll egg you on to break the law.
Mm-hmm. Go be a hero.
These people are just absolutely reprehensible. They really are.
Well, and again, it's becoming increasingly dangerous.
But this is what the people of Minnesota want.
Yep.
The people of Minnesota
Yep.
want this.
Yep.
They put that. Not all. We understand. I'm going to get. I might get a letter from the gentleman who I met at the airport hotel lounge over the summer, who's a farmer in Minnesota, and doesn't go into Minneapolis anymore.
Right.
And is conservative. So I don't want to say all, but but the majority of the people in Minnesota, this is what they want. They keep voting for it.
Yep.
They keep voting for these nutcases.
Yep. And it's mind-boggling how by now it just hasn't stopped with everything that has happened.
Yeah. Hasn't stopped, just keeps ramping
It
up
just
and ramping
keeps
up.
going.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Man, I could just sit there. We could just talk all day about this because there's so many things to talk about. But I was thinking, when looking at Judge Dugan, who came out and basically is blaming the Republicans and blaming everybody, she committed a felony of obstruction of justice.
Yeah. Yes.
She absolutely committed a felony.
Yes.
She believes she's a victim.
Yeah.
You've got in Minnesota, you've got Walsh, you've got Frey, the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
All these people wish to break federal law. They wish they want people, they egg on people to break federal law. I believe they want the violence.
Yeah.
It's the only way that they believe that they can win is that the public won't stand for the chaos of it.
Right.
But the fact is they believe and they want people to break the law. And if you break the law, you become a victim. And when you look at it, Judge Dugan, she believes she's a victim.
Yes.
She committed a felony.
Right.
And she goes, the partisanship is why I have to, resign. And as the Wall Street Journal pointed out, no, it's not.
No, it isn't.
It's the Wisconsin statute. You can't commit a felony and remain a judge.
Right.
These people believe that they can commit a felony, they can commit a criminal act, and there should be no accountability because they believe that their bizarro world morality, which is not morality, supersedes the law of the people. And they're the representatives of the people.
Right.
Well, I mean, Frey and Waltz, not Dugan.
Right.
But she is supposed to enforce the law and ensure that the law is enforced of the people.
Right. And
Just
she's
amazing.
a victim.
She's a victim.
Somehow she had to get around to making herself the victim.
Yep.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. So, yeah, I mean, just a succession of stories this week when you look at it where it's just like you just look at the situation. You go, is there any critical thinking on the left at all? Any critical thinking that's left? Any? I mean, is it all just, is it all, are Democrats now just emotional, spoiled brat children who just want their way and nothing else matters except their emotion and their rage based on whatever?
Yeah. I mean, they believe the more they show the rage, that the more that they shout, the louder that they get, the less people want to engage with them on a debate. But, we're getting even past that point because we used to talk about, there are things that they do so that they don't have to engage in debating the issues. Huh. That's light years behind us now. I mean, it's never going to be that point. A few of them happen to get a job every once in a while in newsrooms, and they'll have a little bit of a debate, but they really don't engage much. But the left doesn't, as a collective, doesn't really want to have debates. And now, if you talk to these radicals, the debate isn't even the point. They don't even see the purpose of a debate, because the way they win is through force.
Right.
The way they win is through violence. The way that they win is through intimidation.
Well, they
use all of these tactics.
Well, they believe they're going to win.
Right. They think it's a win.
But as we said, the massive failure, where you can look at it and where they haven't looked at it, that we did a long time ago, was you and I had never seen. I mean, this isn't close to what we saw in 2020. As we called it, the blue wave of intimidation.
Yeah.
Which was unbelievable, and it was based on a lie.
Yeah.
That all police departments are systemically racist to hunt down and kill blacks. An absolute lie. Corporations fell for it. Sports leagues fell for it. I have never in my career as a talk radio host ever seen or sensed such intimidation from anybody who did not go along with the lie. And you and I were tearing it apart every day, and you and I said it was conservative talk radio. Not all of conservative, some of conservative talk radio. You and I talked about it. Remember some of the hosts sort of crumbling? Well, maybe we should look at And we're like, no.
No.
If officers are wrong, you individually look at any situation that happens, and if they break the law, you go after them. But the fact is, it's an honorable profession.
Yep.
And when you have people that voluntarily will sacrifice everything to ensure that society runs in an orderly way and are there to protect your rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, well, you honor the good ones, because that's a great sacrifice that they make each and every day to do that. Doesn't mean that I can't switch on a button and say that officer committed murder. Remember the one in South Carolina? Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Yeah, right.
Remember there was a guy, it was obvious from the video. You saw the video. Oh.
Very clear.
It was so crystal clear. We're like, my God, doesn't look like there's any extenuating circumstances here. The guy was running away, wasn't he? I think it was.
Right. Yes.
My God, you can't, that, and he ended up in jail.
Right.
Because he should have for doing that.
Because you and I have never made the case. In fact, I've never heard anyone try and make the case. Maybe someone has tried it, but I haven't heard it, that officers are beyond reproach simply because they're officers. It's not the case.
No.
Whether they had an intent to do something wrong or not, or made a mistake, or which became fatal, or any of these things, they have to be held responsible when it is proven they've done something wrong. But it gets back to something I've been saying here recently more and more. That's elementary in its nature, and we shouldn't even have to say that. As a society, everybody knows that. You take it case by case. Just like with anybody who's arrested for a crime, there's due process.
Right.
They're not automatically guilty because of anything.
Because public opinion says so.
Exactly.
And then when you look at it, because I think hopefully a lot of people learned a lesson, and I mean the people on the sidelines. I don't mean the political activists after 2020, because remember when they were saying, yep, all police departments are systemically racist to hunt down and kill blacks. That was what they were trying to communicate. And remember when we said, what are you talking about? In all the major cities, you have so many of them that the police departments and the chiefs and the majority of police officers are minorities.
Right.
What the hell are you talking about? And then it became, remember how they had to evolve. Okay, how do we evolve this? Oh, because if you're black and a police officer, you're not really black. Remember that one?
Yeah, remember the girls, the white girls screaming in the black officer's face?
Right. Trying to tell him he's not black. He's betraying his race because he's a cop. Think about that. That was an attack on cops, on just law enforcement existing to protect people, to protect the innocent and law-abiding citizens out there. It was just a blatant attack. When they realized, oh, wait a minute, we can't sit there and say that, well, what are we going to do now? Because we're saying that all police departments, especially in the major cities where we have so many of these problems, are racist. Oh, my gosh, so many of them are run by blacks, and the majority of police officers are blacks. Where do we go from here? Oh, okay, if you're black and you're a police officer, then you're not really black. You're blue.
Right. And they were using that on television shows.
Yes.
On dramas.
Yeah.
I mean, they went out of their way to condemn all police officers.
Right. So we've been here already. We've been here.
Mm-hmm.
We already did and that was the biggest. You and I would talk about it on there. We're like, my God, this is unbelievable. It's unbelievable how that kind of lie spread because of one incident.
Right. But the left and now the Democratic Party, of course, they thrive on the chaos.
Yeah.
The Democrats have always thrived, the party has always thrived on any crisis. They want the crisis. Was it Rahm Emanuel who had that quote? It's
Don't
good.
let a crisis go to waste.
Right. Yeah. But now it's beyond crisis. You create the crisis.
Yeah, we learned that with immigration.
Yeah.
They created the crisis.
Right. You create the crisis and the chaos. You make something completely unmanageable. And I don't understand the lack. I understand the lack of critical thinking, but I don't understand how you don't see that coming. How you mentioned the border. In 2020, Biden is promoting, come back here if you were deported during Trump's term. We want you back. Next thing you know, right there at the International Bridge in Del Rio, between Del Rio and Acuna, you had thousands and thousands of them. And the common thread in the answers to the question, why are you here? Well, because Biden told us to come here. He invited us. And how you don't see A to Z in that scenario, knowing. Did they really think they could manage hiding it? Remember, they tried to. We actually joked, well, because it was it Mayorkas?
Yeah, the border is secure.
The border is secure. Well, the border is secure because, and we joked, they're not crossing the border anymore. They're coming over on planes, and sure as hell they were.
Yes. Or the border is secure for anybody who wishes to come across.
Right.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. That version too.
Yeah.
And they really did believe. Now, at that level, I know why they believe I know why they have that confidence in that they can hide it, because they'll do everything within their power to do it. Look, Hillary believed that the Russian hoax was going to work, that she'd never be found out. She still believes that because there are people that still believe the Russian hoax was real, that everything's fine. She didn't do anything wrong. Because they believe, again, if they have that level of power, they can get away with hiding it. And then, of course, you indoctrinate generations to believe that you're not accountable. You shouldn't be held accountable. You shouldn't be held accountable for the things you do. You get bad grades, we'll bump it up to a 70. It starts with that. Next thing you know, well, you can't discipline any children in school. All right, we're not going to discipline children in school. Well, you arrest someone for shoplifting. AOC is screaming, they're just trying to feed their family.
Yeah.
And the whole broken windows approach to law enforcement had to go.
Remember, it got to the point of brag. This still, I tell the story. There are people go, no, that never happened.
They don't believe it.
They don't believe. They're like, no, that can't happen. That it happened, and that's where brag threw out that trial balloon of, if you think about this, the people on the left that want to disarm everybody, and brag in New York City was saying that, well, what we're going to do is, if you commit an armed robbery with a gun, but don't shoot the gun, we won't charge you with the felony.
Right.
You tell that to people, and they're like, why are you making stuff up? Why are you lying?
No,
because
it sounds so bizarre.
It actually happened, and then he had to back off on it. It's like, oh, okay, it's a trial balloon. Okay. Apparently, even New York City isn't ready for that yet. Now, they may be now.
Mm.
You know, now that you've got Kami Mandani in office, and Sally Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute, Sia Weaver. I'm thinking of I'm sorry, it reminded me of Sally Weaver from Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Kathy, what's her name?
Yeah.
The actress, I can't think
Yeah.
of it. It's like,
Kathy Griffin?
Kathy Griffin, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I heard the last name was, the character was Sally Weaver.
Yeah.
But you saw she was, did you see she was crying? They asked her, after all of her communist stuff this week, we got some audio. Oh, God.
About property ownership?
Yeah. And so someone said, well, your mother owns a property worth, it's like over $1 million, whatever, in Nashville.
Right.
You want to talk about it? She goes, no, and she burst into tears.
Right.
She's a crying commie.
Crying commies.
Can't have crying
We have
commies.
crying commies now. Can you be a communist leader and a victim at the same time?
I was thinking the same thing.
They're trying. They're trying to make it work. They're trying to make it work.
I'm a communist leader victim.
Right.
My God, I'm so glad that I haven't retired.
Oh, it would. I can't imagine. Can you imagine having retired a few years ago? It would be insane.
I know.
I would just probably be arrested for breaking into a radio studio somewhere saying, I got something to say.
Well, I was seeing that. I saw it on Facebook or something. You go down and they've got, it was something about, this woman, this nurse in hospice who said the number one regret that people have. And like the number one was, I work too long. I'm like, well, that's not going to be me.
Right.
I'll be sitting on my deathbed. What do you regret? But I only worked to 94.
Well, yeah, that's it. I retired a couple of years early.
But because there is an entertainment factor to it because it's not even a serious debate anymore. You're dealing again with adults that have the mentality of a spoiled brat child who is an emotional nightmare.
Right.
Who is full of rage, doesn't even know why they are, cannot make any critical thinking arguments, cannot connect the dots. And that's what we're dealing with every day. And so it actually becomes quite entertaining. It's serious as hell.
Yeah, because it's dangerous.
It's dangerous, but there's comedy in everything. And the comedy is, I can't believe that adults act like children, not once in a while, but every single day, they're spoiled brat children.
Right. Yeah.
And then, and then they cry.
Yeah. Right. A crying commie. Nothing worse than a crying commie.
Nothing worse than a crying commie. We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Some of you may still be returning or exchanging gifts at retailers for whatever reason. So University of Arkansas Extension's Laura Hendricks, what if a return or exchange is not an option?
Regifting is another option. So maybe you can't use it, but you know someone who would really like it, so then you could regift it to someone else, either over the holidays or save it for some other time for a gift.
Then there is keeping in the spirit of the holidays well past their celebrations via donation of items.
I recently have found that I had a really growing collection of throw blankets, and this time of year that's a great thing to donate because shelters and other places are looking for blankets to help keep people warm in the winter. But there are always places to donate items, or even for charity auctions depending on what the item is.
Hendricks adds, if a regift or donation is a personal or family heirloom, it is best to keep it in the family or ask the gift giver about their wishes for the item. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Let's go to, this is Britt Hume yesterday in his comments about ICE and Minneapolis.
Well, I don't think I've seen the conflict between the federal government and the states as intense as this since the civil rights movement in the 1960s, when southern states were trying to block enforcement of civil rights laws and the rest of it. This is intense. I mean, these agents, these ICE agents, had every right to be there. Indeed, one might argue they had a duty to be there. They are this nation's enforcer of the immigration laws. They certainly would like, as you heard her say, cooperation from local and other officials. But this is their job. And there's no evidence here that they weren't doing their job or doing it properly. And the way that these local officials are acting is extraordinary. And the statement that mayor made, laced with obscenities, telling the agents to get the F, and he didn't say F, out of Minnesota, is something we haven't seen in a very long time indeed. I can't believe that across the country this will sit well with the public.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here this morning. You know, even with back in 2020, as I said, and Trump was still president back then, still the blue wave of intimidation was unbelievable. These days, though, number one, because of social media, now that X is much more of an open format, there's a lot more fight that you see from, and it's much more exposed, I think, the media out there when something like this happens, stopping it in its tracks. You know, and the evidence is out there now. Right. On X now, you're seeing, you know, for example, in this, the different camera angles, everything else, and you have enough now commentators out there, podcasters, influencers, people just in regular news media that look at this and go, whoa. And what you have that you didn't have as much back then, you have a bunch of Democrats, prominent Democrats, that now are objecting to the radical left of the Democratic Party. And that makes it so when something like this happens and you hear, you know, how irresponsible is it for anyone, whether it's Mamdani or Walz or Fry, whatever, to say what happened yesterday was murder? It's a height of irresponsibility, but it's important that the right point out, and you can use illegal immigration. You can use what the Biden administration did. They wanted chaos in the United States. You've got the judge. This all fits this week, as we mentioned before. You have Judge Dugan leaving the bench and blaming everybody except herself. She was convicted of a felony. Yeah. She was obstructing justice. Right. She didn't care. She views herself as a victim. You know, it's like, well, we don't like the laws. We don't like the Constitution. What you're saying, and I think more Republicans have to come out and say this, they don't like the United States of America, because the United States of America is the Constitution and the whole process of the laws being made through our elected representatives. And as an American, you're obligated to respect that. And not just respect it, for God's sakes, understand what the system is.
Well, and part of this, again, now calling this murder, is part of building the fear in minds of ICE agents. Mm-hmm. They believe they have leverage here now to make their case more and more to fight against ICE. That's the whole point. Create the ultimate fear.
I believe Democratic politicians, I believe Walz, I believe Fry, I believe they want violence in the streets.
Yeah.
I think there's enough evidence out there that making that accusation can be backed up by the evidence of what's gone on in Minnesota. Oh, my gosh, did you see the one? Was it Jeffrey Blair wrote the article on Minnesota?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was. I just got to read the headline of it. It was hilarious. Oh my gosh. I'm just going through it really quick. Where is it? Come on. Oh man, I can't find it. Oh, it was. The headline was just great.
Well, and again,
it's like I've had it with Minnesota.
Somebody was asking me on X. Somebody sent a message saying, "What are the odds of the 2028 DNC being in Minnesota, in Minneapolis?" I think it's a fairly strong point. I think it actually could. If this keeps up, they've been the focus.
After the fraud scandal, I'm going to guess.
Well, they'll have plenty of federal money to pay for it.
Right. after the National Democratic Party basically came out and told Walz,
but
you're not going to run for governor, and that came that I believe came from because Klobuchar was the last one really to talk to him about it, and I believe it came from the.
Well, but here's the question: where isn't there fraud? And you've seen the stories since the weekend. They're looking now at every state.
Oh yeah,
fine-tooth comb, especially in these blue states.
Yeah.
So where are you going to go? I mean, it's probably not going to be Texas.
But it started with Minnesota. That's my point.
Sure.
You probably want to deflect from it.
Yeah, no, I know the point you were making, but this is. I don't think we're anywhere close to this whole fraud thing being over.
Oh no,
I think it's going to be monstrous. I think California, they said actually could be worse.
Here it is. It's the headline: "To hell with Minnesota."
Yeah.
It is late, and I'm tired. Specifically, I'm tired of Minnesota. Others, both here at National Review and across the media, are currently talking and writing about today's fatal shooting of a woman in Minneapolis by an ICE officer. Was it a good shoot or a blatant crime?
Mm-hmm.
Will the city burn once more? Are these the inevitable results of federal intervention? What about the Somali angle in all of this? These are good and important questions, and everyone here, and I hope at least a few elsewhere, will have smart and informed takes. Not me, though. Me, I don't care anymore.
Well.
Which isn't to say that I fail to see the political vectors all playing out quickly, zooming across my social media transom. Mayor Jacob Fry, still captive to the divisive feelings left over from the bitter mayoral race against Omar Fattah, demanded that ICE get the F out of Minneapolis. Governor Tim Walz attempted to simulate anger.
Mm-hmm.
All of this falls in the shadow of Walz's recent announcement that he would retire in 2026. In the wake of the massive Twin Cities Somali fraud scandal, some have warned of a potential rerun of rioting of May of 2020. I doubt it, if only the fact that it's January in Minnesota. But no, I don't care. I'm simply done with Minnesota overall. It keeps resurfacing in the national news like a bad penny. Trump just banned pennies. Can he ban Minnesota via executive order as well? I'm not a superstitious man, but I suspect it's time to write their experiment of statehood off as a loss and revert it to a non-voting territorial status and maybe trade it to Canada for Alberta, plus a province to be named later.
Yeah.
Between the bookends of the Floyd riots and Tim Walz's sudden implosion, it feels like every time I turn my head, yet another national disaster is tumbling forth from what we now know to be one of the worst-run states in the United States. And to speak selfishly, if nothing else, that means they're stealing Illinois' spotlight. I've had it up to here with this third-tier Midwestern state dominating national news when we deserve to have Illinois that once cornered the regional market on headline-grabbing criminal political behavior. But we earned it the honest way over a century of hard work. They're just stumbling into one nationalized civic disaster after another with no plan. Oh, my gosh, it's just hilarious. Like you're taking the corruption away from Illinois. Stop it. Just greatness.
Well, it seems to be a contest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost as if there's a contest.
Yeah.
Because, well, next, again, there's a lot of talk about How much might be happening or might have happened in California, other blue states?
Oh, yeah. The fraud there.
You know, I mean, Illinois really did have the trophy for the longest time. But I think Minnesota's pretty much taken that trophy. If it were professional wrestling, the belt right now would go to Minnesota. Which is ironic because a professional wrestler used to be the governor of Minnesota.
Well, it is the...
I was the governor of Minnesota. Now I live in Mexico.
But it does, in such a short time, you know, it does seem like there's, for such a smaller state, population-wise...
Right.
They are really rising to the top with a bunch of nutcases.
Well,
a bunch of Democrat nutcases. Now, you know, I know Jeffrey Blair is probably a little bit upset because it's taking stuff from Illinois, but look, New York City's doing fine. New York City's keeping the insanity going for Democrats, too.
Yeah.
And Newsom's probably going to get jealous any moment now and just come out with something more insane.
Right.
He'll probably be upset about it.
No, I mean, it's a contest. It appears to be a contest. And we wonder why that U-Haul report looks the way it does. For those who may have missed it, the U-Haul report of, basically the bottom five in terms of where people are moving, the bottom five were all blue states, and the top states were, of course, red states and lower tax states, and they wonder why that's happening more and more. But, what are you going to do if you've got a corporation and you want to move your headquarters? You've got to consider the pool of applicants that might show up. You've got to know that if you move to the wrong area, my gosh, your office could be populated easily with a bunch of radicals. And you can't have that. You got a business to run.
Well, you saw the story yesterday. Since you mentioned, we do have something with California.
Mm-hmm.
Billionaires are now making strategic moves out of California ahead of the proposed wealth tax. Duh! Larry Page moves companies to Delaware and Florida, while Larry Ellison sells his San Francisco home for $45 million. Google co-founder Larry Page appears to be distancing himself from California as the public filings reviewed by Fox News Digital from the California Secretary of State's office showed several business entities linked to Page were moved out of the state in December ahead of the January 1st, 2026 residency date tied to the proposed tax. Those filings indicate his family's office and his research fund no longer lists California, while a flying car venture now lists its primary address in Florida. Oracle founder Larry Ellison has taken steps that signal a potential pullback from California, though details of a reported $45 million off-market sale of his San Francisco home have not been independently confirmed by major outlets. The New York Post reported the sale and said it would mark the city's largest real estate transaction of 2025. So there you go. While the initiative has not yet qualified for the November 2026 ballot, their proposal, backed by the Service Employees International Union and a whole bunch of other unions, would impose a one-time 5% tax on the net worth of California residents worth more than $1 billion. The tax would be due in 2027, and taxpayers could spread payments over 5 years with additional cost, according to the Legislative Analyst Office. So, expect more people to move too.
Yep.
But there you go. I mean, they're all trying to get to the top of destroying their states. They are. They're trying to just. I don't see any other thing because it's. There was a thing on Mamdani and Weaver. Weaver about the whole thing of. It's like, my gosh, they are communist, and talking about her past statements and the fact that we want to put rent control on, and then when you put rent control on, you make it so the landlords can't afford to do anything in the building anymore,
right? Because
costs go up and it's rent controlled, and therefore when they won't do it, then the state or the city will take over the property, and then they'll run the property, which is how communism works. That's how you get to communism all the time. And they're like, it's never worked before. The evidence is there. She's doing it, and everybody's looking at it like, oh, the left, oh, she's doing something new and innovative. No, been there, done that. It doesn't work.
Right.
And, on economics, we know it. On economics, law enforcement, laws, the Constitution, the Democrats we don't give a damn about any of it.
Right.
We just want to do what our feelings say. Again, you're talking about adults that have the mentality of the emotional and actual critical thinking mentality of a spoiled brat 7-year-old.
Yep.
That's just angry because they don't get their way and nothing logical makes sense to them.
Nope.
We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just looking at this headline right here, Minnesota Democrats blocked auditors from tackling avalanche of Somali fraud and blacklisted whistleblowers, threatened them, did everything. You look at Minnesota right now, and you're talking about corruption. You're talking about fraud.
Yeah.
You're talking about that the state's leaders and the city leader promoting and egging people on to criminal behavior. It's the worst of everything that you see in politicians. It's not one thing.
Right.
It's everything.
Right. It is. No, it's not just a contest between states, to have the most issues and chaos. It's also to have all of the fires going at once. It seems to be a contest. Let's just do everything and be the worst at everything.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.